But a lot of my money problems came from the fact that we never talked about money. We never learned about money. We we didn't know. But budgeting. I remember I took what I could from those Dave Ramsey's teachings and applied them to my life. I remember the first time I sat there, made a budget. I was practically in tears because we were in the hole before we even got started. We were already in the hole. It was like there's not enough money to make things work. These are the bills. This is everything we got going on, and there's not enough money. So obviously I had to make the choice that I had to go back to the 2-job thing. So I started doing the 2-job thing. One thing that got to me, and now this has a religious aspect for some people because the word tithing. Now, obviously, if you have a church and you're not religious, but obviously if you belong to a church, you know what tithing is. And if you are not doing it, you should. Now, non-religious, I'm going to tell you something that I picked up from this Dave Ramsey's guy. When he's talking to non-religious people, non-church people, he'll tell you straight up, take 10% of your money and give it away. And you might be going like, that sounds insane. I don't know, but obviously there is a power out there that watches when you do that. So I would say, hey, if you're not religious, you don't belong to a church or whatever, take 10% of your money and give it away. I don't know, there's local food bank, shelter that helps victims of domestic violence, or shelter for the homeless, veterans, whatever it is. That's something that I experienced. Before I started doing this, I was always borrowing money from family members, from my mom, my elderly mom. I'd be like, hey, Ma, can I borrow $20, so I can put gas just so that I can make it till payday. And, that just definitely, it's embarrassing, being in your mid-30s, borrowing $20 from your mom. Think about that. Think about that. You're 30-something years old and you are borrowing $20 from your mom to put in your gas tank so that you can work till Friday and get paid, and then I'll pay you back. And chances are things happen and I'll pay you back next time. It happened. I'm not preaching here. This is not a preach. All I'm saying is, I'm sharing something with you that I started doing. So I started making a budget, and a monthly budget didn't work for me. I guess, I don't know. I need everything a little bit closer. So I do my stuff in 2 week, and I get paid every 2 weeks. So in bi-weekly increments. So I started making a budget. I started giving 10% of my income away. Basically, to my church and to food banks and other, charitable organizations that, help humanity, help us, So for the longest time, even though I was working, we found ourselves in need to be going to food banks. And it was embarrassing for me because I'm like, I'm not unemployed. I just have too many bills. I just can't make it. And I felt bad. And, and there was people there that I would see driving Escalades with iPhones. And you could tell that they were there just taking reaping that benefit so that they could afford those things that they really can't afford. But you see, that's the ghetto trap, the mentality that keeps us poor. But bottom line is, I couldn't do that. So I knew that someday, I kept saying to myself, I'm going to find a way that, instead of me coming here to take a box of food, I'm going to find a way to, help this organization so that they can help those people that are truly in need. Like I found myself at that particular point in my life. So bottom line is, now I've take 10% of my income and I give it away. Okay, this has been happening since probably the last 4 years of my life. So I've learned this late. I wish I would have done this since my 20s. I wish I would have learned. I wish somebody would have really taken the time to explain. But like I said, I come from a background. I mean, our family, talking about money was not an option because there wasn't any. My mom didn't want to talk about money because all that would do was stress her out because she didn't have, enough. I mean, she had enough to put a roof over our heads and, some food and no fancy things, no cable TV. And, a lot of the times when I think back, I'm kind of grateful because I didn't get hooked on just sitting there watching things. I had to go out there and work. And everything works out for a reason, But, bottom line, like I said, we didn't talk about it. We were not taught. So I learned at a not late age. I mean, it's better to learn, better late than never. But I was in my late 30s. Yes, I'm not a spring chicken. But bottom line is, in the last four years since I've been practicing, keeping a budget and following it and giving away 10%, I haven't had to borrow money from anybody to make it to the next paycheck. I mean, I've had to borrow from my own savings, but see, I've managed to even have a savings to the point where I need to take from savings so I can put gas in the car. But here's the thing, you're not borrowing from a stranger, from a family member, from a payday loan place, which, oh God, if you're doing those, you need to get out of those quickly. Those are a horrible trap. I can't, emphasize that enough. Those payday loan places are designed to keep you poor. And I know sometimes it feels like, oh, but I really need the money right now. I have no choice. And I totally understand you. For years, I lived like that. I have no choice. I got to take this payday loan out. Then you went over to this other place, took out another one so that you could pay this other one. And then you're just going around in circles and circles and circles, stressing out. So, I wanted to talk about that, learning to live below our means. And I'm not gonna go too deep into this. This is a small podcast, this is a bite-sized podcast that I like to make for you. But I just wanted to share that first step was making a budget and giving away 10%, whether it be to your church, which should be to your church if you're a member and you believe in that, if you're a believer. Bottom line, that. Okay, and now talking, like I said, to regular people like he does sometimes, just give 10% away to like a food bank. I'll go into more details about that later, but what I'm saying is, step one, make a budget. And then somehow the baby steps is, trying to save $1,000 for emergencies. That I did learn from Dave Ramsey's. That's something that, right now I'm back in the process of rebuilding that because I had emergencies. I've talked about it. My air conditioning went out and there was some water damage that we had because of a washing machine that went bad. But like I said, we were able to cover those expenses. And like I said, we work, we stick to budgets, and that giving that 10% away. It's funny. It's good juju, good karma, or like I said, it's a blessing. Well, that being said, I'm not gonna shove all that into you right now, but I do want to have like once a week, or this is the first of a series. We're gonna call this getting out of debt, or you know what I'm saying. I don't even know what we're gonna call this, but I'm gonna be talking about finances because it is important. It's how when my dad died almost a year ago. Luckily, my sister and I were in positions that we were able to cover his funeral expenses and what needed to be done. But in our reality, my dad left the bill when I go, I want to leave a will for my children. You know what I'm saying? I may not make them rich or anything like that, but hey, I am trying to better myself and make sure that my future generations, my children, my grandchildren, that they have a better life, better opportunities. After all, that's what we all want, right? Well, now that I said that, I've taken enough time. It's one of my longest shows because I thought that finances is important. It's complicated. It's boring. But I just thought maybe you could use this because I know it helped me. So, you know what? I'm even going to post some information. Eventually, I'll get onto the website and start talking about this because I feel this is important because a lot of people are struggling and they talk about how great the economy is. I mean, not for the regular average person, which is ridiculous when, well, okay, I'm not going into politics. Screw that. So that being said, live each day like it's your last one because it very well could be. Take the time to, be with your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Show them you love them because, well, tomorrow ain't promised to you or to me. So do that because that kind of chunk is what makes life worth living. I haven't said this in a while, obviously, because I haven't been making this program because, well, time. But getting out of debt requires a lot of hard work, sometimes working 2 jobs, a lot of discipline, stuff we don't want to hear. But hopefully, if you're listening, I can tell you that it's doable. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I can tell you I'm in a better spot than I was 4 years ago. That being said, see ya.